for Ted Lasso, episode 9. We're barreling towards the end of the second season here. We're recovering from a 5-0 defeat to Manchester. Conversations with Brendan separately over the years. He knows some of our friends. And when I was watching this episode, I had a kind of a little bit of an insight. And I don't know if you felt the same way. Like, we were watching the mind of Brendan Hunt, who's an unusual cat, an intelligent cat, seeing how he kind of sees the world or views the world. What did you think overall about this episode before we dive into it and spoil it? What did you think?
Well, I think there are two ways to look at this.
Okay.
There is the one view of looking at this episode completely by itself, just standalone, not looking at the larger repercussions that go in or come out of the episode, but just looking at this sort of this one-night adventure with Beard.
Yeah.
And from there, I mean, it was unusual. I mean, but, you know, I never checked my watch. I never got bored. I mean, there were definitely twists and turns that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And then what I'm curious about is the second way to look at it, which is, how does this affect the larger story?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the folks that have kind of voiced some displeasure with this season are probably not going to have liked this episode.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
That's my guess. I mean, this does have the feeling of like being a little tacked on, and that it's not really going to propel our overall story forward. That might not be right, though. There could be something that's going to happen in the next 2 episodes, some big decision that Beard does that ties back into it. But as of right now, that's my gut feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And this one is written by Brett Goldstein and Joe Kelly. So Brendan is not credited as a writer on this episode. So both of us may be looking too deep into it, but it feels like something Brendan Hunt probably had some influence on, or some conversations about with Brett Goldstein and Joe Kelly. And Brett, of course, is an unusual comedic mind himself with his podcast and the stuff that he's done on the other side of the pond with some of the shows he's been in. So you can see this combo of brains, and Joe Kelly as well, kind of maybe coming up with this Coach Beard journey, which a lot of people have compared to After Hours, the Martin Scorsese film from way back when, and the Jacob's Ladder, and all kinds of films where the protagonist goes on this journey of discovery, and you don't know what's real and what isn't real, and you are just brought along for this thing. So here's the deal. I don't know how to review this episode at all, other than just for us to talk about it. And normally I'll break it into sections or storylines, but this whole episode is one storyline, and that is Coach Beard reacting to the 5-0 defeat. We'll go through it real quick, and then Shannon will just talk about the things that stood out from us and what the meanings of some of this stuff might be. He ends up on a subway. He has this weird interaction with a kid. He jumps out of the subway. He walks to a bar. He walks to that bar, the Richmond bar. He ends up meeting some of the people there. It's raining. He goes back to his house first. It's raining. Goes back to his house. He's getting a beer. He has trouble opening the door with his key. And as he's getting a beer, he turns on the TV, and you hear the pundits. That's Gary Lineker and Thierry Henry. Gary Lineker, very famous British player for England and for numerous clubs himself. I think he's the 3rd highest goal scorer for England ever in the history of that country, and for representing the national team. And Thierry Henry, of course, a very famous French player, has won World Cups and what have you. They are analysts. And then they start to talk about Beard and start to kind of jump down Beard's throat. And he's visualizing that they're talking to him, which causes him to run out. He takes one last swig and he heads over to the pub where all the Richmond fans hang out. And he's there with May, and he talks about the breakup. Apparently him and Jane broke up, which we didn't know. And she lays into him about the match and the tactics and what they should have done, like any good fan should. And Jane is texting him at the same time when she checks his phone and finds out to meet him up at the club. And then the 3 fans that we've seen all through the last season and a half and more come in and talk with him, and they grill him about these questions and the fragility of life. Jane keeps texting him, and then he goes out with the guys. So let's stop there. I guess I'll try to do this in sections, but what did you think about this whole intro here for him? What did you think?
Well, opening credits wise,
Yes.
this is the first time we've had the credits not in the stadium. I mean, even
the
the Christmas
one.
episode,
Yeah.
it was claymation,
Right.
but it was still in the stadium. So the fact that the other episode that some people, I think you and I absolutely love, but other people have kind of dinged as not really propelling the overall story forward, which would be the Christmas episode. These are the two that kind of go off the beaten path with their opening credits. I mean, even the title it looks like it's stitched there into the seat. And you see he has a stare off with a little kid, and then the mom catches him essentially, and he kind of takes off as one would do. I thought it was interesting when he went into his apartment, that framed photo. I believe that's from Burning Man. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's from Burning Man. I've never been, but a lot of our friends have, and I've seen some photographic evidence. But yeah, I mean, that's like the moment that the people on the TV start talking to you, you know that, okay, this is, or rather start talking to him, like, okay, he's on a journey right now, and how he ends up at the pub. And this episode, what was great is we really get to know our three fans, Paul, Jeremy, and Baz, I think their names are. But you see, they're actually, you know, sitting down with him. This is something that he's sort of invited them in, like, sure, let's sit down and talk. And the variety of questions, like, I mean, I loved his Vegas answer. Have you ever been to Vegas? Yes. 1 night is good. 2 nights is perfect. 3 is bad. Yeah, it's like, as you know, many of our trips to Vegas, John, you know, if we had to stay a third night, it's like, it's probably good that we're getting out now. They ask what Ted is like. He's a man. He's a man just like any other man. And then I think it's Paul gives him that really sort of existential question, which, you know, he answers several pints in. And as, is it May? Is that the name of the
May
pub
is
owner?
The bartender.
That she's basically kicking everybody out, and that they find there's an after hours club like Honey and Blondes or something. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was super,
Bones and Honey.
Bones and Honey. I thought it, again, in terms of this just being a standalone episode, I thought this was super enjoyable, and I love the fact that we got to give some story real estate to characters who are generally there to serve other characters' stories. As you said, they end up at Bones and Honey. He has a weird exchange with the hostess up front, Sarah Coombs, I think is her name, or Sarah Toombs, something like that. The guys call from outside and trick her that her flat is on fire, and as she runs off, which I think is very funny when they're saying to act natural, and they're all doing very unnatural things themselves. But she runs off, so they kind of sneak into the club because she's not there to stop them. They go up the elevator. As soon as they come off the elevator, Coach Beard is ready to jump into the bar and do his thing, but the other three guys kind of hold back because they really feel like they're out of place, and Coach Beard is not having it. So you focus up, cut it out. You belong here. I'm going to go get you some overpriced beers. Then he sees this woman in red. And isn't there always a woman in red? There's always a woman when you're on a spiritual quest like this. There's always a woman in red. We see the guys are all of a sudden having this back and forth with these three other kind of rich uppity dudes and over a game of pool. Beard walks up, dons an Irish accent as he tries to trick these guys into believing he was at Oxford, and I'll be damned, he fools them. And they play pool, and just as they're about to do some more pool, the woman in red returns, and Beard follows her into this weird room. She's not in the room, but he's in the room, sits down watching the game again on a screen that's there, then stands up and rips his pants. Makes such a stink about it loudly that a security guard comes in, asks for his membership, and kicks him out of the club. But who's out there but the woman in red herself? That is, she's just called Red in the credits, and it's Charlotte Spencer, who, if some of you have seen Cinderella, she plays one of the wicked stepsisters. Well, one of the stepsisters, not wicked, one of the stepsisters in Cinderella. And of course, we know that Kay Cannon and Brendan Hunt know each other. So what an interesting kind of mixture of wheels within wheels in this situation. Anyway, they head on over to her place, Red's place, and they discuss relationships. And Beard gets into his time with Jane and what's going on with Jane. And of course, we'd heard earlier in the bar that May, in this conversation, Beard has told Jane that he loves her,
but Jane did not respond with "I love you." And I think all of us have been in that position, and it's a rough moment, whether you're male or female. It's a rough moment when you're on the other side of the person not telling you they're in love with you. But she is checking in on him. She is sending him texts. So there is care. She asks for him to come meet her up at the club, but he does not dial. He starts to type up this, "I don't want to keep doing this back and forth with you," but then never sends it. So we've kind of left that in limbo, but he's talking with Red about his relationship. And then some burly dude calls Red, and she asks Beard to answer the phone, and Beard has this interaction with this guy, and this guy says he's going to kill him and take him to pieces. He ends up showing up at the place. He runs away from the place. This guy chases him down, and he ends up on the roof of the place, and he jumps into the dumpster. Now, whatever they did here, Shannon, this was some incredible special effects, because at no point did the camera leave Coach Beard's face as he turned and jumped all the way down to the dumpster. And if Brendan Hunt did that stunt, brother, you deserve all the flowers for that fucking stunt, because that dude hit the side of the dumpster when he fell in there. Anyway, so he thinks he's out of this thing, but then he hears the dude coming down the alley after him, and then he runs across the street to get away from the guy. He jumps onto a bus, apparently, discovers he doesn't have his wallet, gets kicked off the bus, ends up at a hotel, and a front desk receptionist and him have an exchange about him using his phone. And the guy goes on a rant that you're going to, get him in trouble with identity theft and downloading pictures that he doesn't want to download. And we'll stop there, and he runs out. So we'll stop there before we get to the next section here. This was intense. Him seeing the woman in red, him, tricking people into thinking that he's Irish, tricking people that he went to Oxford, and then rolling out, ending up at Red's place, having this exchange with her about it, and then wearing these funky Elton John 70s pants, and then getting chased out by this huge dude, and then ending up on the bus, no money, getting called something by the old lady, and then ending up with this front desk receptionist. And then we're going to get to the next section. Shannon, what did you think?
I mean, what's fun about our three fans is, for the most part, they have come around on Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
They might still call him wanker, but there is a lack of vitriol from them as fans. Like they can be a little coarse, they can be a little harsh. But even like when last season, when Ted's wife and son showed up, like they were perfectly nice as soon as they realized, oh, this is his wife and kid. So to see them in this very posh, exclusive club, our heart kind of goes out to them, because you can judge from their accents that, oh, these are working class guys. I mean, they're kind of on their heels a little bit, and the fact that they're showing a little bit of that vulnerability of like, we don't belong here. And, awesome moment of Beard saying, no, you do belong here. Let me go. Who wants an overpriced beer? Correction. Who wants me to pay for an overpriced beer? Also, I thought it was really funny when they talked about, they felt bad what they'd done to Sarah Toombs. Like, yeah, but can you imagine how happy she's going to be when she gets to her flat and sees it's not on fire? I was like,
tomorrow's going to be the best day of her life. There's
100%. I'm like, that is, she got tricked, but what a sigh of relief that all of your possessions are still, not up in flames. Right. It was interesting the moment that the woman in red shows up, and as he follows her down that kind of neon lit hallway, and he gets into, I don't know if that's the champagne room or it's just a private area where there are a series of televisions. It almost looks like an art installation. And then you see the commentators pop up all over the place. They start badgering him again. And then he gets found out as his pants rip because of basically a nail sticking out of like whatever coffee table that was. Him ending up with the woman in red, because he and Jane are broken up. Like, they're not a couple right now. Like he can go home with a woman if he wants. Sure. And then you see this rack of pants that she's like, yes, I've done this many times. I've helped people out. And it's like, all right, this is really odd. And then when her phone rings and it says, do not answer, she's like, yeah, have at it. And there's something about a bald, yoked, bearded dude that is terrifying when you see those enormous, the enormous shoulder muscles. And then like he he enters the frame very quickly, and then suddenly, yeah, we're on a rooftop chase, and generally when you do a high fall, you land flat.
Yeah.
I would have to watch it again, but it sure looks like he went in feet first.
Yes.
So I don't know if this was some digital trickery. I mean, it looked like one shot, so it's like, I don't know how they did this. But yeah, I mean, ends up on the bus. Super funny exchange with the one passenger who rats him out. And yeah, I mean, again, you know, we are just along for the ride with Beard at this point.
Well, what is the symbolism here? And before we get into the next section here, what is the symbolism? I mean, obviously, if she's done this before, she has a rack of pants. What is this? Is this like, okay, you can go back to this life, this crazy life where you're meeting women and you don't know where it goes, and you're meeting some of these, kind of crazy people that you could date or unstable people that you could date. And this is a path that you could walk, and it's a dangerous path. In a bar, like this kind of underground bar that had these wood chairs and a wood vibe, and you had to kind of say the code word to get in. And she got us in, and her friends were there. And I remember eating Toblerone while drinking like huge chunks of the Toblerone, and people were like playing music there, sitting at their booths or whatever. So it was an insanely awesome trip through that time, going to multiple different bars that were open late at night. I only have flashes of memory of it, but it was a great experience. Stephanie was awesome to take me through that kind of unique experience in London while I was studying there. So when I was watching this episode, I'm like, this is not out of the realm of possibility. So this is great. I'm just like totally reliving that moment. Anyway, and I'm sure you've had some moments like that yourself, Shannon, in different American cities, I'm sure.
Oh, like there was a night in Osaka, Japan. I had a couple of nights in Osaka, Japan when I lived there.
Yeah.
That, you have enough alcohol, and the next day you think like, did that happen, or am I imagining?
Right. I'm an unreliable narrator. All right. Anyway, he runs off away from the super paranoid front desk receptionist about his identity theft issues. And then suddenly we see he ends up in this weird tunnel that is backlit. It has a little bit of the third man vibes to it. For those of you who've seen that Orson Welles film, there's a little the underground tunnel that's kind of backlit. It's got a little Dead Zone vibe to it as well. And he is confronted by who of all people? Jamie Tartt's dad, who, if you remember in the last episode, he threw through a door head first. After he had gotten punched by Jamie, was going to go after him more, and you can see that he's got a Band-Aid where Beard had put him into the door by his head and out the door. And Jamie Tartt's dad's there with two of his boys who he was sitting with at the game. He kind of tricks them and runs off, and suddenly we see Gary Lineker and Thierry Henry again show up as analysts once these guys catch up to him, and they're kicking his ass, and they're analyzing the kicking of the butt of Coach Beard here. See her saying that she does love him. I love you. Come find me. I'm in the bar, blah, blah, blah. So then the battery runs out on the phone. Just as he's reading the messages, the battery runs out on the phone, and he yells out a primal scream of anger and nerddom and desperation and frustration. And he goes off walking on his own. We see, for some reason, the game being played up there on Trafalgar Square. It starts, and he goes off, and he ends up looking like, just worse for wear. But he gets picked up by the dudes, the three fans, in a limo, and that they rented after they had won a bunch of money off those three other dudes from Oxford in the pool table. They bring him home. He breaks off he tells them, he puts an address, tells them to go and tell them that Coach Beard sent them, and that it's okay. And they drive off after they serenade him. He tries to open the door or the lock to his house or his apartment, and he breaks off the key in the lock, and it starts to rain, and he runs off. So this is a hell of an experience that we go through here, Shannon. This is almost the darkest before the dawn moment of the fever dream, about to get his ass maybe killed, possibly, or at least brain damaged by a pipe by Jamie Tartt's dad, of all things. And then this guy saves him out of nowhere and explains to him why. Then possibly the connection with Jane, and it disappears. And now his key breaks off in the lock, and it's raining. You tell me, what do you think?
I mean, at this point, his evening is just Murphy's Law. Like, literally everything that can go wrong is going wrong at this point. I mean, the moment he runs into James Tart and Bug, and other friend, at that point I'm like, okay, this has to be a nightmare, because like no one can be this unlucky. But then when you see the two commentators again, I'm like, all right, he either is that unlucky or this is a nightmare within a nightmare.
Yeah.
But the moment he picks up that pipe, because he had said, you know, you think football's on the pitch, football's in the streets. And again, I mean, not being the biggest sports fan, like this type of behavior is just completely in football stadiums and baseball stadiums in the States. I mean, to me, like, it's just insane. And when, like, you're thinking who is going to come to his rescue, and it's the yoked, bearded, bald dude who just drops two guys, and the third guy runs off. But then he explains, like, listen, I was jealous. My wife's pregnant. This is I did some cheating in the past. And it's just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness that this is working itself out.
Right.
And then, like, again, I mean, the ship starts to right itself. The three guys pull up in a limo that they rented with the winnings from the Oxford guys. And even after they told them the truth, that they were like, hey, it's all good. They even invited us to one of their estates for the weekend. The moment that he breaks the key off, it's like, nope. It's still, you should have stayed with your boys, because your night is about to get supremely bad again. Again, this is not the whole episode just feels very tacked on, and I'm not saying this as a criticism. Just the how much focus people who normally are not in the show are getting, mainly with our three fans.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's great, but also to me, this is an essential episode, because I have a feeling the last 3 episodes of this series are going to be insane. And this is the tide being pulled back before the waves come and crash us for the last 3 episodes. The same thing happened in the Christmas episode. Remember, the Christmas episode was kind of a break before we got into all this stuff that we got with Nate and all the stuff that's going on here. And now we've got this, after this 5-0 crushing defeat, we have this kind of fever dream of an episode with Coach Beard. And this is all just kind of get us to kind of like take a break for a moment, because next week starts the shitstorm for the next 3 episodes. And who knows how it's going to end up? Who knows how it's going to, how the pieces are all going to lay when it's all over. But it looks pretty unsettling when you're thinking about what has been already proposed. You know, finding out about Ted's dad, Nate's situation, Rebecca and Sam. This feels like even Keely and Roy a little bit, a little bit of the cracks. What are we leading to? And the Jamie Tart punching his dad, what's the ramifications of that? So certainly there's a lot that's coming here, Shannon. I think maybe this was a great way to kind of like take us off the scent a little bit and then move us back into the main path. And him breaking off the key, the key in the door. That's just, your night's not done. You haven't learned your lesson yet. You're not finished. And that's why the key breaks. Anyway, runs off and randomly it starts to rain again. And he runs by a purple cross similar to the one in the picture that Jane had texted him earlier when she said, come to the club and meet me. He goes into what is essentially a church here. He kneels under a statue and he starts to pray, revealing his true feelings. And it seems like from what he says, you know, long-time listener, first-time caller, it's the first time he's praying to God or to whoever he's praying to there. And he starts to reveal his true feelings about Jane and says, like, she makes me feel alive. She makes me feel real. And that's what I want. And that's important to me. And suddenly after this grand revelation, an honest revelation, the rain stops, you know? And we cut to the guys who had just been there in the limo, ending up at this place that says no entry. They knock on the door. They say Coach Beard sent them. Are you Renee? And then Renee leads them through this tunnel, the very Shawshank Redemption type tunnel through this thing. And they ask him, is this heaven? He goes, no, it's Nelson Road. And they ride up. Oh, they walk up onto the actual pitch where AFC Richmond plays. And those guys have like an awesome time simulating playing on the pitch, yelling to the crowd, scoring goals, celebrating the scored goals, and hanging out with each other. So it's a great gift that Beard gives to these guys in exchange for their fandom and their company on a very tough night for him. We go back to Beard, who walks through this church area, hears this noise, and he finds the club in the back that Jane might be at. I wrote, is Jane here? We shall see. He dances on the floor to the I Just Came to Say Hello song. I don't know the name of that song, but I think it's called Just Came to Say Hello. He's dancing on the song on the floor there. Then he ends up dancing out on the main kind of area, and Jane shows up. And he sees her, walks down to her. Before he does anything, she says, here, take this. And it's a hula hoop. And he starts dancing with the hula hoop that she puts on him. And then he points to Gary Lineker and Thierry Henry, who are at the bar, and they toast him with a shot. And Gary is surprised that you can get food in this bar. And Terry says, oh, I can, as the French would say, and then walks down, has this moment with Jane, and they dance together. And it seems like everything is back together with those two. And we cut to the next day with Ted, Roy, and Norm waiting on Beard to bring the coffees. Just as Nate says, I'm going to go get the coffees, and Ted stops him that, Beard's going to be here. Trust me. Beard does show up with the coffees. Coach Lasso wants to watch the video of the game. No one else wants to watch it, but he says, no, we can watch it at 10 times speed with the Benny Hill music playing underneath it. By the way, this is no bullshit. The last 4 or 5 days, I have been watching old Benny Hill sketches on YouTube. I'm not bullshitting you. I have been. So to have this kind of come together at the same time as I was watching the episode was weird kismet for me. And we pan out and we see Coach Beard's pants, that he's wearing the pants from the night before. So was this a dream, or did this really happen? It feels like it really happened if he's got those pants on. So Shannon, what did you think about everything that happened in the church, in the bar with Jane, and then this ending with the pants and Ted and the rest of the coaching staff?
Well, I think first we have to talk about the boys finale, getting to run onto the pitch, because I don't think these are related, but you remember at the end of last episode how James Tart Sr. was asking Jamie, like, hey, the lads want to run out on the pitch and take some pictures, and he says no, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then you see, you have these three kind of bad soccer fans, and then the three good soccer fans are Richmond guys. They didn't ask for that. Like, they were just happy. They were just happy to have found Beard. Right. They wanted the night to keep going. And so I don't know. Part of me is just like, well, good. I would like to think that good things happen to good people. And ultimately, even though they sort of swindled these guys, they came out and were honest. Like, look, we're not supposed to be here. We're not. Like, they came clean, and it still worked out because they ultimately they're good people. I was just like, oh, that's a nice sentiment. I don't know if Brendan has been to Burning Man. I think he has. Okay. But I'm wondering if he fine-tuned his hula hoop skills out there on the playa. What was interesting is, like, when Jane sent all those texts where it said, I do love you, and then you just see this Russian novel. And I did not pause on it to see, has the conversation devolved? Did she go to kind of a nasty place, or was it worry? Was she angry, or was she sad? And so then, I mean, it seems like everything's okay, but as the two of them are dancing and, the strobes are flashing on their faces, I couldn't help but like, I don't trust Jane. I don't know if Jane's a good person. I mean, I don't think anyone looks great under that lighting, but for me, I was just kind of like, I mean, I think Higgins is right that these two probably don't belong together. I mean, the whole idea that he's saying, she just makes me feel alive. It's just like, why is she the only thing that makes you feel? What else is going on? What else are you not getting for your only solace in life to be this person who you're constantly on and off with? Love the next day. The fact that we do get a little button with Ted, Roy, and Nate's, and the moment that, I mean, you have to think all of this happened to some degree, because he does have those bedazzled Elton John pants on.
Yeah.
But yeah. This, I mean, it was a fun, unusual episode whereas I will go back to the Christmas episode for multiple viewings. If I'm feeling down about myself, I don't know if I'm going to revisit Beard's adventure out on the town.
Yeah, it's a great point. And by the way, the hula hoop symbolizes childhood exuberance. For Native Americans, it symbolizes the never-ending circle of life. So as there is no beginning or no end, and this certainly that night felt like there was no beginning and no end for sure. So maybe there's something about, and also like, you know, the hula hoop is what you can encompass someone with two people inside a hula hoop is also, you know, the trust circle, so to speak, could be a part of that as well. And remember, throughout the episode, that full moon was highlighted brightly in a number of sequences, beaming down behind him. So what a full moon symbolizes change as well. So interesting stuff going on, transformation. So interesting stuff going on for Beard throughout. We'll see what the end result is for Beard from this night. Because I mean, why would you have this episode if you're not going to have something come out of this night here? Are him and Jane now together? And maybe this is the kind of love that he wants. Someone who's going to send him 52 messages or the Russian novel. Some people like that. For some people, that symbolizes true dedication and true connection to the person. For other people, that symbolizes, you know, it's all a matter of what works for you, and everyone is different. And you know, there's that great song in Sunshine, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, you know, that there's great lyrics about Here We Go, and they talk about you just got to find the one that's who's crazy but crazy with you, and that's sometimes all you can do. And so we'll see what happens with Beard and Jane, because yeah, Higgins made it very clear, and the show made it very clear that she wasn't the best thing for him, but maybe she needed to go through some shit and really sense the possible loss of him to maybe kind of come to terms with her stuff and let go of her jealousy and her controlling nature, just like she accused him of being jealous earlier in the episode. So that's what he said. So we'll see, man. This was a heck of an episode. As I said, I didn't know how to review it. I hope we did a good job reviewing it. There was a lot to go through and explore. But to me, the basic symbolism is a guy who's a little bit lost right now and had to go through this weird fever dream. And this is the kind of fever dream that Coach Beard would have. It's not conventional in any way, shape, or form, but maybe he's come out the other side a little more secure about how he feels about Jane and what his place is with Jane, and even more so what his place is on the coaching staff. Because remember, the episode starts a little bit with the analysts saying how Coach Beard messed the tactics up, messed up all this stuff. He trips over the scansion that's out there. So there are some questions to be asked here as we talk about Roy, as we talk about Nate, as we talk about Coach Beard. Where do they fit in the coaching staff dictating the strategy and tactics of this team as it goes into the back half of its season, trying to fight to move up into the Premier League? So yeah, a lot of things to consider here, Shannon, for sure.
Definitely. Yep. Two more episodes.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy. All right. Any final words, brother? Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah, let's just wrap it up.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for listening or watching this episode of, oh God, thanks for watching or listening to our spoiler review of episode 9 of Ted Lasso here in the second season. Much love to my brother Shannon McClung for joining me on this journey through these reviews, especially for this one. Shannon, where can people find you and everything you got going on, my man?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy, and you can see me right now 3 times a week with this handsome gentleman to my right. Not only here doing our Ted Lasso reviews, but doing our Geek Buddies What If reviews with Mr. Michael Vogel and Ms. Emma Fife, and also our regular Geek Buddy show that is also with Mr. Michael Vogel.
Absolutely. And shout out to my Liverpool for this new little Adidas or Nike rather addition to my collection. Yeah, I'm very happy to have this jacket. It came in just in time for this review. All right, there we go. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that bell button. Give us some love for all we're doing here on the Outlaw Nation channel. We crossed 18,100 subscribers. Woo! Let's start marching to 19,000. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, join us. So much great content happening here on the channel, and definitely me, Shannon, and Michael on Geek Buddies. A lot of stuff going on there, so go and watch all those episodes that are on this channel as well. All right, be well, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new review here from the Outlaw Nation. Take care. Be well.